That's all. And I'll go ahead and pass that over.
Russell passed. You start with 1109.
What? Yeah, with public hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, we're supposed to sign it.
She's getting it. It's back there in the back. It's 5:15. It's time for our work session to begin. Mackenzie's got a sign-in sheet. This is for the beginning of the public hearing for the vacation of County Road 1109. So if everyone would please sign that you're here. And our next guest was TCU Consulting, and he's called and had an emergency and can't be here. He will be here at the next meeting.
He called, and him and Mr. Percy, Mr. Ken Upchurch, the one that's been beating y'all, has got a family emergency and couldn't be here. And him and Mr. Percy, that owns the company with him, he didn't feel it would be right for him to do the presentation by himself. So they will be here.
Okay. And next, I'll recognize Mayor Reeves and Mr. Ted Flynn. Ted, good to see you. Mayor, if y'all will, come on up.
Thank y'all for having us.
Thank you for being here.
As y'all know, over the last couple of years, we've had an incredible amount of economic development and economic growth in Troy and Pike County. Thanks in large part to to y'all and the city and everybody working together to create a community that people want to come to, and a county that people want to come to. I'd like to say to you, just how excited we are about Rex and and the job that y'all have done on that, and that's going to be something that has an impact across the entire community in many, many ways. So thank y'all for that. We, as we work on different economic development projects, we try to find businesses that are going to do well in our part of the world. And we got the opportunity back in 2016 to begin some preliminary discussions with Kimber Firearms. And it was a long, arduous process to recruit them. There were obviously just about every state in the Southeast was very when you're talking about when you talk about handgun manufacturer in this part of the world, and a firearm manufacturer is something that's very popular. But anyway, we started into a long process. We got down finally between us and Thomasville, Georgia. Thomasville, Georgia had a building over there that was part of. It's where they made Caterpillar's fuel injectors. And when the things changed, as some of y'all may know, with the diesel engines and things, that place closed down, and that building was sitting there, and so our competition got a lot stiffer. But in the process of all that, and Ted he can answer specific questions related to the law and some of those things, and give you some other general information. But as it got down to it, we were able to use a 2015 law. The state offered, the company requested, and for us to be competitive, the 20-year abatement came up. Now, the 20-year abatement is not something that any of us have ever done before, because it's fairly new. As I said, 2015. But the city and the state and Kimber together, the initial investment's going to be over $100 million. And when you talk about the incentives and the things of that nature, so huge impact on the economy. One thing I would mention about what we're going to gain from this, to start with, that doesn't have anything to do with taxes, is just the payroll. they've committed to a minimum of 366 jobs at $45,000 per position, which I think is about a $14 million a year payroll. That's larger than the city of Troy's payroll right now by a few $1 million. So you can imagine the economic impact that has. But on this abatement, and Ted can tell you a little more about the law and the way it works, but on the second 10 years of the 20-year abatement, each taxing authority has to do an individual approval. So the state's done theirs and the city's done theirs, and we're here to respectfully ask that the county do yours, to allow this to move forward. And as I said, this was a very competitive process. This is a privately held company, and they look very closely at what are our operations going to be over a 20-year period, and who's going to have the best deal. And the state worked real hard to put that deal together, and we did all we could to help. And so I just come here to humbly ask that y'all approve the abatement, and that as we can move forward, and appreciate working with y'all. Appreciate y'all hearing me out, and this is not something that we would ask for very often. It's not something I see coming up all the time. This is this was used because this is a special project. This is a large payroll. These are high paying manufacturing jobs. So the state felt like it, and certainly I agree, and hope you will too, that this is a special project and needs our help. But Ted, I don't know if I misspoke on anything.
Yeah, just to reiterate, it was a highly competitive project from the beginning. Probably 2.5 years ago, one of our project managers was attending what's called the SHOT Show. It's held out in Las Vegas. It's where all the gun manufacturers and all the suppliers and vendors of that industry show up there, and we traditionally have made a trip out there to kind of plant our flag and show Alabama as a place for some of these companies to consider locations. And that's when Kimber came on our radar, and they told us that they were looking for a southeastern location, and the competition was intense. They toured many communities in the state of Alabama and very quickly settled on Troy as the best opportunity in the state of Alabama. But it came down between Troy and Thomasville, and that competition was intense. The incentive program that you're being asked to consider today is relatively new in the state of Alabama. In 2015, there were changes made to the state's abatement laws. For probably 30 years, it's kind of become standard that companies, when they consider locating in Alabama, they're granted a 10-year abatement on the non-educational portion of the property taxes. And typically those can be granted by the Industrial Development Board, and I think that's been the case here in Pike County, is that the Industrial Development Board would grant it, and that was really the only approval that was needed. But in 2015, the law changes to allow for an additional 10 years. And why was that necessary? Alabama had actually fallen behind. We were uncompetitive with neighboring states, in particular Georgia. I used to work in the state of Georgia, not too far from Thomasville, and it's not uncommon there for abatements to be granted for up to 30 years. So that's the competition that you're facing today for economic development projects. And this is a quality project. You don't see many projects like this with 366 jobs with the average wages that they have associated with it. Across the state since 2015, many communities are automatically granting the 20-year abatements. Other communities are doing it on a case-by-case basis. And that's what I would encourage you to do, because I think it makes more sense. If it's a quality project that's highly competitive, I think you should probably consider doing the 20-year abatement. In this case, I think it makes financial sense, but it's your prerogative and your judgment as to whether or not the ends justify the means here. And but I think it's not every day you're going to see a project like Kimber coming to Pike County. So I'll encourage you to consider it. Any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions? Okay, guys. Thank y'all very much. We appreciate everything.
All right. Thank y'all.
Hey, Alan, could you come here? Judge meeting. Yes. I don't know who you know. Oh. They need to see anything. We also have members here from the Pike County Water Authority. Steve, do you have anything you need to bring forth? If y'all will, come on up, please.
Gentlemen, I think you all know me.
Good.
Ms.
Thanks
Nixon.
for being here.
Good to see you all.
Good to see you.
And I am General Counsel for the Pike County Water Authority. And let me start my presentation by saying what I'm about to ask will not cost the county not 1 red cent. So think positively as to what we're going to try to do here. The Pike County Water Authority, as you very well know, supplies water to rural areas. And through their able leadership, Steve Carter being one of them, the chairman of the board, saw the need to expand their services. And they applied for a loan with the U.S. Department of Agriculture to accomplish these ends. And part of the loan is a grant. The entire project is going to cost $5,600,000. But of that, the USDA is going to loan at a very attractive rate. What was that rate, Steve?
It was 2.75, no higher.
Yeah, no higher than 2.75.
Maybe less.
$3,098,000 of the total project cost, with a grant of $2,502,000. As you know, grants are not repaid, so they're gifts. And with this money, what they intend to do is to build a 500 gallon per minute well on County Road 6636, a 350,000 gallon elevated storage tank on County Road 6631, connecting, and then water lines connecting Monticello to Sanford, Highway 29 to 223, Monticello to Sanford Highway 223 to the tank, Monticello to the field mill along County Road 4404, Hamilton Crossroads to Tenna along County Road 4430. County Road 7708 from Needmore to China Grove, increasing the line size and enabling Water Authority to provide better pressure and, of course, being able then to serve more rural customers. Additionally, County Road 2225, that's the Smart Road, increasing again the line size and connecting County Road 2262 to enable the Water Authority to provide better pressure and serve more of these customers. And all of this is going to cost the Water Authority $5.6 million. Now, in order to get all these attractive rates and in order to effectuate this entire project, the bond that we're seeking from the USDA must be tax-free. So we have to float a tax-free bond issue. And in order to get this project started immediately, we also are negotiating with local lenders some interim financing. The interim financing will be the loan amount of $3,098,000. In order for it to be tax-free, tax-exempt, and in order for that interim loan to be bank qualified, The law requires that the Pike County Commission sign a certificate that simply says that in calendar year 2018, there is not anticipated any other bond issues that would exceed $10 million. So all we're here asking this able body to do is to sign such a certificate. Alan's got the document. You do, don't you? Okay. We have bond counsel. He could not be here tonight also. And bond counsel has prepared that certificate, and we ask that this commission sign it. Anything else? Do you want to say something to me?
Well, I appreciate all of you. If you'll pass one of them down, that's what he just read off, and you have it where you can see better. And we hope all this goes through and everything turns out good, because like Smart Road, it's a 3-inch line. They got chicken houses we can't hardly even hook up to on account of the 3-inch line. It's just necessary stuff. And
Go ahead.
And hopefully it'll all work out to where we can tie lines together where if somebody breaks a line, we can turn a valve and keep going, people have water. That's about all I got.
One thing I failed to mention, the application by the USDA has been accepted, and they have approved the bond. Any questions?
I think y'all have that certificate in your packet, and as Nick pointed out, just to emphasize it for y'all, all you're saying and certifying is that it's reasonably anticipated that during the remainder of 2018, which is less than, 6 months now, right at 6 months, that you don't expect or anticipate to have to borrow $10 million. And I think you could reasonably anticipate that you're not going to have to do that. What it doesn't mean, just to be clear, is if some disaster hit and you had to, you still can. It doesn't. You're not saying we're prohibiting ourselves from going to get financing if needed. But I think you can certainly sign that document without any hesitation whatsoever.
Appreciate it.
Question?
Yes.
Yes.
You all may have already discussed this, but is this something, since it's a first reading, we would need something we need tonight, or?
Not necessarily, no, sir. We would like it if you can, but it's not necessary.
We could suspend the rules tonight, or it would be 2 weeks if we went regular reading.
2 weeks would be satisfactory. Because we're now in the process of negotiating the interim financing. Now, we would need it before we close that interim loan. I don't anticipate it will be within the next 2 weeks.
Anything else? Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here. You guys got anything? Okay. Yeah, he couldn't make it, and you guys came in a little bit late, but thanks for coming anyway. He will be here at the next meeting. Okay, and we'll move on now to the engineer's report.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
We have one item under new business. That's our monthly project update, and you have a copy of that in your agenda package. I just wanted to point out one item that is also down under current business is the block grant for 7749 and 2256. And we do have we're in the process of getting the public hearing set up for your next meeting on July 9th. So we'll bring that back to you. But also in there, I think I sent out an email to you all about an HRRR application that we're trying to put together to address unshielded bridge ends where you don't have any end treatments to, prevent someone from running off the road into the end of the bridge there. So, and then also for a little bit of traffic striping on our major routes. So that is competitive. That's a competitive program. So don't really know what our chances are, but that doesn't come around every year, just whenever crash statistics warrant that program for the entire state of Alabama. So, and then also under that project update, Commissioners Barron and Copeland, I think, have the one-lane paving project for County Road 5515 at Bank School. So I thought if you want to bring that up now, that's fine, or I can move on, either way.
Mr. Copeland, you have anything to add? I don't think we talked with the school system about it.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, I think we need to forward it.
Oh. Okay. What else you got, Russell?
Okay. Then moving down to current business, under personnel, we have a request that's in your agenda package. That's just not adding an additional employee, but just advertising in-house for a part-time operator too. That's the CDL, or at least the beginning classification for CDL drivers. So that's something we're been struggling with lately. Apparently those are in pretty high demand. So,
Yeah, they are.
But that's just a way to entice someone to get their CDL. And then the recommendation that we handed out to you looks like this, and that's for the position that we've been advertising, and that's for a part-time operator. So we have a recommendation there and an alternate, just in case we run into any problems there. So, and then we also wanted to mention that the local road resurfacing project under, what you've named the 2-year plan, that's in the project update. We're going to bring it back next time to go ahead and let you vote to give us permission to advertise those projects. And we're going to try to let those in August after the federal aid resurfacing project's let. And then the only other thing that we have tonight is the vacation of County Road 1109.
Questions for the engineer? Go ahead.
On County Road 3313, at the end of it, about a mile of it, it's got broke, cracking, and there's dirt popping up, all the asphalt is gone. Could you check it out for me?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson?
On the 1109, do we need to see if there's anybody? I don't see that the family's not here.
That's right. I don't recognize him.
Actually, is there anyone here tonight that lives on the private drive 1109 that they were asking us to vacate? Just make sure if there's anybody here to speak for or against that during the work session, I want to give them a chance to ask questions.
Okay. Anything else for the engineer? You got anything else?
No, sir.
Okay,
Thanks.
EMA,
He's not here tonight. He called and, he sent me a message this morning that he was not going to be able to make it. But he did want to let y'all know that him and Chris Dozier, 911, met today with the mayor, Mayor Reeves, to discuss the current E911 building and maybe using some more space in there. I'm sure he'll have a report on that later, what they discussed today. Also, they're planning on meeting with the E911 board this Thursday at their meeting to discuss the consolidation of the 2 departments there with that group. And they're hoping that by the next between now and the next commission meeting, to sit down with some of the community stakeholders in this project to come up with a final plan and a budget to have for y'all at the next commission meeting to give y'all a report on all that.
okay.
Unless you have anything else to add to that.
That it? Okay.
Okay, that's all from him.
Okay, thank you. Attorney's report. Any commissioner or Commissioner Johnson, Pike County Fire Association?
Last week, in the chairman on absence while he was out of town, Mackenzie and I met with, and Chris Dozier met with members of the Pike County Volunteer Fire Association. The first topic is funding for power supplies. In the past, they applied for a grant for radio transmission equipment, and it was overlooked in the grant. Originally, the power supply to go on the tower to make the equipment they got in the grant functional was not included in the grant. Is that correct?
It didn't happen.
In working to come to, so what they were trying to accomplish in this grant, there were some spots in the county that they do not have radio communication when they're responding to a fire. And they were trying to remedy those dead spots for all of them. And it was not just for a certain volunteer fire department, it would be for all of them. It would 2 decades ago or more, when the tobacco tax was first began being collected to fund the volunteer organizations, the county at that time withheld a 1% administration fee that has never been spent. It's just been put in its own earmarked account for Volunteer Fire Association. Best we figure is 25 years.
I think around 30 years.
It's been collected. It's a very small amount each month, but it is built up to a little over $12,000.
A little over $14,000.
So to remedy the issue of making these grants functional, be able to put the power supplies up, is between $6,000 and $7,000 needed. They didn't have an exact amount. It was just somewhere between 6 and 7 to get this done. They are asking us, would we pay for these power supplies to be put on the towers out of that 1% administration fee that's been saved, set back and saved out of the tobacco tax all these years. I told them that we'd bring that up tonight and talk about it. And once again, that wouldn't help any particular volunteer fire association, but help all of them in these dead spots they encounter in the county. Item B, under that, the agreements. In the association meeting and talking with all of the individual departments, meeting with Chris about their funding and trying to make some things a little more, to handle some duties a little more professionally, they have been conversation about each individual volunteer fire department entering into a contractual agreement with the county. And today, the way the tobacco tax is sent to the volunteer fire departments, RDS collects it, and they just mail a check straight to the volunteer association, correct? What they're asking is that to make things a little more accountable, that the money start being sent to us, and then us mail the check to the nine departments today, correct? But that we do that under a written agreement, explaining how the money would come to them and how it could be spent and things like that. And right now, that's kind of open for interpretation. Chris and Alan are working with them about the wording that they would want in the contract. And that was the second part of the conversation. But tonight, when we get in the meeting, if y'all and Chris can answer some more questions on this while we're talking, but as far as the money that's built up in that administrative account, to go on and be able to utilize this grant and not lose it, that we're going to be asked to, we look at suspending the rules and spending that money out of that tobacco tax administrative cost account. Fund that purchase. Y'all, Chris can probably go into more detail about specifically what we'd be purchasing.
Yeah, it'd be 2 repeaters to go on to serve the volunteer fire channel. They've currently got 3 repeaters in the county, and they're trying to put these in 2 areas of the county that the service is spotty at best. They had already paid for the repeaters. They were going actually to install those at forestry, and that's when they figured out that they were
Forestry Commission, they will handle maintenance and
Go ahead.
Mr. Kissmer, how do we spend that out of the budget, that money that's being collected?
We don't spend it.
We don't spend it?
It's just part of the general fund budget. It just sits there.
Anything else, Commissioner?
Deadline, you can't go back and do it again, so that was one of the money that we had in the treasury fund. Like we're talking about, fees and all that stuff. So maybe we can work it out and whenever the grants come available. This year, if I counted, they put in a lot for everybody. Extension service and different ones got to do it. And so I'm working on a grant and not one for paving in front of the factory. So I feel comfortable that we can get it once they get everything together.
Anything else? Anybody else? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Administrative report.
The only thing we have under new business tonight is the Pike County Water Authority compliance certificate, and they left, but they've already spoken to y'all about it, and I think from what I understand, it does not have to be suspended unless y'all do want to go ahead. We've got the paperwork ready for you to sign. That's just up to y'all if you want to go ahead and do it tonight or pass it on until the next meeting.
Okay.
Under current business, we have the personnel for the county administrator.
Nothing on that right now.
Okay. We don't have anything to report for the industrial access project or the CDBG EDA grant right now. Okay. The Pike County Emergency Management Communications District, like I told you earlier, Mr. Reeves plans on bringing back something for y'all to the next meeting once he's talked to everyone. We've got the vacation of the County Road 1109, and I was passing around a sign-in sheet. If y'all haven't signed it, if you don't mind signing in that you were here for the public hearing on that, we'll find it for y'all before y'all get out of here if we can get that signed. But right there, everything's ready. We've got the resolution ready for you to sign to approve that if you so choose to do that tonight. Right, the sound system for the commission chambers in here, we are still working on that. I've gotten one in, but we're waiting on one other, so let us get that in and I'll come back to you with that information. The CDBG, I think Russ already talked about this, but we do plan on having a public hearing at the next commission meeting for that grant. I think y'all have already discussed the County Road 5515 for tonight, and there's no action tonight, am I correct?
Right.
Okay. The ACCA Legislative Committee nominee, I believe y'all have discussed keeping Commissioner Copeland on there as Pike County's nominee.
Okay.
We've got the paperwork ready for that to have a motion on it and taken care of tonight, because we do need to get that paperwork in by the 29th, I believe, of this month is when they're wanting that turned in. Next, we have the abatement request for Kimber Manufacturing, if you want to take action on that. And then we've got the Pike County Jail back on there, but like what we found out, we'll leave it the next meeting before we get any more information.
Leave it on there.
Okay. And that's all I have tonight, unless y'all have any questions.
Anybody got a question? Thank you. At this time, our work session will come to a close. Our regular meeting will convene at 6 p.m.